Hey guys, what's up? It's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my October reading wrap-up. For October, I pretty much restricted myself to mainly gothic, dark, spooky, paranormal romances. Basically so I could get the best Halloween October vibes that I could. So I read 15 books this month, so let's just get into it. Okay, so first off this month, I read the first two books in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series by J.R. Ward. These are a vampire series. To my knowledge, I think there's like close to 20 books released right now, I think. But needless to say, I did read the first two. I really did enjoy them. They weren't the greatest in the world. The writing style kind of took me a bit to get into. They are in third person, and there is quite a bit of POVs. You actually have more POVs than just the two leading characters. There's more going on. So it did take me a little bit to get into it, but once I was into it, I was fully into it. I have to say book two was probably my favorite of them, but either way, this was a great vampire series to start the month off with. What I did really like about this vampire lore is that in this world, you can't be made into a vampire. You can't turn into one. You are only born that way. And I thought that was just kind of an interesting take on that. But I did read the first two, and I did thoroughly enjoy them. Okay, then after that, I kind of went on a Carrie Lake binge because I was looking for some really good spooky gothic romances for this month. And when I went on TikTok, Carrie Lake was kind of like all over the place in terms of gothic romances. So I read, the first one was The Master of Salt and Bones. This was a Beauty and the Beast meets Phantom of the Opera retelling. Very interesting, very, very good. There are very, very dark elements in here, so I would definitely look up trigger warnings. But basically the premise of this one is that our heroine gets a job at the very beginning of the book to be the caretaker for our hero's mother. Our hero lives in this very kind of creepy seaside castle in Maine. This does have age gap in it. I think he was in his mid-30s and she's only 19 or 20. This was really good. Like I said, I think I rated this one 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, next by Carrie Lake, I read the Nightshade duology. I loved this so much that I actually ordered the physical copy of the first book. This has very strong soulmates, fated mates elements. I'm a huge, huge fan of those when it comes to fantasy books. And if you like that too, I think this is a very good duology to read. I think you need to go in blind, but basically kind of what's going on here is Nightshade is like this purgatory place between heaven and hell. There are two timelines going on in the book. Basically it's kind of hinted that these two were lovers in a previous timeline and they have to be reunited in the present. It's, like I said, it's just very good. Look up trigger warnings for this one as well. It does get very dark. And then wrapping up my Carrie Lake journey, I read The Isle of Sin and Shadows. This was another great, dark, spooky, gothic romance. This one takes place in New Orleans, like on this little island outside of New Orleans, I believe. This is another one I think you should go in blind. Look up trigger warnings. It's very, very heavy on cult themes. But basically the setup is that our heroine, she used to grow up in New Orleans in this really big house. She was pretty wealthy. Her father was brutally murdered in a terrible, horrific way. And she was kind of whisked away by her father's friend. And then he raised her up in Michigan, I think, is where the book starts off, is where she's at. So anyway, the man that's been taking care of her, he dies, but he leaves her like these clues and stuff that she needs to go back to New Orleans to figure out. That is where our hero currently resides. He is a very wealthy businessman. He works for like the mafia. He's not the mafia because he has people above him that he's afraid of. Like I said, it's very interesting. Look up trigger warnings, but this was definitely another banger. Then I finished the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy with the last book, Kingdom of the Feared. I just started this trilogy last month, and I'm so glad that I read it all back to back to back because I probably would have forgotten stuff. But I have to say, for the final book, it wrapped up everything beautifully. I don't think it really left anything unanswered. It even kind of set up a spin-off series for another brother to kind of get his shining moment. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to talk too much about the plot of this because this is the third book in a trilogy. But if you have not read this trilogy, it is about a demon. It is about a witch. It's all very great for spooky season. It's a great read. Then I went a little bit out of my comfort zone because for October, I also wanted to read some non-romances. I wanted to read some good thrillers. And one thriller I had purchased months and months and months ago, I was purposely putting it off for October because I knew it was just going to be the perfect vibes. And that was Bunny by Mona Awad. This was such a mindfuck and such a good time. I did listen to this on audio, and there were times where I had to like rewind it and listen again because I was like, wait, did I hear that right? So this is, I would basically say this is a dark academia satire. It's got horror vibes. It's got cult themes. I would say it's very Mean Girls meets Heathers meets Frankenstein. Like I said, it gets so weird, but basically your setup is you have Samantha. Samantha goes to this college. She has a best friend, Ava. They are very outcasted people. And then you have the Bunnies, and the Bunnies are a group of 4 girls. They kind of have like their own like little sorority just between the 4 of them. And they're kind of weird looking on the outside, and Samantha has just always been kind of very intrigued with them. Well, at the very beginning of the story, Samantha gets invited into the Bunnies for like a workshop or something because they have class together, and it all goes from there. And you will see as you get further into the story that Samantha just finds herself so far down the rabbit hole. And like I said, this was a good time. I need more people to read this because I need to discuss this with people. The ending totally blew my mind. I loved the direction it went. This was just incredible. I loved it. Okay, then I received an ARC called Make Me by Summer O'Toole. This was really good. This is like the first book in a new like kind of mafia series. I think it's supposed to follow all 4 brothers, and this first book was off the first brother. I would say if you like Miles High and mafia books, this was that all rolled into one. I really liked it. So the setup of the book was pretty interesting. So our heroine, her best friend, her roommate, was brutally murdered. And so she just can't let this go. She's been interviewed by the police because she witnessed it, and the police kind of don't really have any leads, and she just kind of won't let it go. And so she stumbles across a man, and she kind of gets these flashes in her head, and she thinks it's the guy that murdered her friend. So she starts stalking him. Well, when she notices him, he happens to notice her and how attractive she is. And him being a smart guy, he notices that she's stalking him. So he in turn stalks her, stalking him. And it goes from there. And like I said, it was a good read. It had some really good, hot, spicy scenes. But yeah, like I said, if you like mafia, businessy romances, this was a good one. And then I read Lessons in Sin by Pam Godwin. This was my second Pam Godwin book, and like the first one, this was another 4.5, 5-star read. I'm really thinking Pam Godwin is a new great dark romance author for me. So this one was very taboo. This is about a priest and an 18-year-old student. So our leading lady, she basically gets sent to a private religious Catholic school for her attitude and her behavior. Her mother is very wealthy and just doesn't want her embarrassing her anymore. And so she puts her in this school with our leading man, Magnus. He is a priest. He's very hot, very sexy. He's, I think, 42, 41. He was in his early 40s. But this was the first priest romance book that I've ever read, and I have to say, it did not disappoint. I actually like taboo romances, but I like them if they're a little bit more believable in the journey of getting from point A to point B of being together. And this one, I think the couple was believable, and I think what really helped was Magnus's past and why he became a priest. It's not all black and white. It's not clear cut. he had some past demons, and you just could really buy the romance. Some of my favorite scenes in this book were towards the beginning, where they really had their banter, and she was really testing him because she wanted to get kicked out of this school. Like, she didn't want to be there, and he wasn't gonna let her go that easily. So just the stuff he would have her doing for detention, just, I liked it. So if you like dark, taboo, age gap romances, this is a good one, and it is new to Kindle Unlimited, so that's kind of like why I had to jump out there and read it. Then last month I had read Truly Devious, and I listened to it on audio. It's the first book in a YA mystery trilogy. It was so good. Nothing was wrapped up at the end, which was frustrating, but it made me more excited to pick up the second one, which was The Vanishing Stair. I also listened to this on audio, and I have to say, if you're looking for a good audiobook, this was a fun trilogy to listen to. It's great for this time of year. The trilogy takes place during this time of year, so you get all those vibes. But basically, we have a continuation of the first book, which sets up that there is a cold case murder mystery that was never really solved from 1936, and it is still popping up in modern day because this murder mystery happened to take place at a private boarding school, and this private boarding school is where Stevie Bell, our leading character, she happens to attend now, and she's just kind of obsessed with solving this case herself. Well, obviously, since she is solving a mystery from the past, a mystery from the present kind of unfolds, and characters kind of end up winding up dead. And like I said, the further you get, you are learning more and more. This one, I got more answers to, but I still didn't really get any answers. But I got way more answers in book one. So like I said, this is just a great murder mystery trilogy. I think it's a fun, quick time. Also on audio, I listened to The Ravens. This was part of Vampathon week, and this was also another really good audiobook to listen to. So this is about a sorority in Georgia, and this sorority is exclusive to witches only, and the story was just really, really fun. So our two leading characters are two girls in this sorority. One is kind of a senior girl, I think, if that's what you call a big. Yeah, you have your bigs and littles. And she's kind of being prepped to take over for the sorority for her senior year after this year is over. And then for our other girl, you have Vivian, and she didn't know she was a witch prior to coming to this school. So she's very new, very inexperienced. What was the other girl's name? Scarlett. Scarlett didn't like Vivi. She didn't think she was very experienced. She didn't want her into the sorority, but she got outvoted. Well, while all this is going on, there is also kind of a revenge plot going on. They had another girl in their sorority, like in the previous year, who had gotten in trouble for like stealing other girls' magic or something like that. And so they think she's back, and their students go missing. It was a good time, and this did have romance. Both girls had a guy that they were interested in. Vivi was actually interested in Scarlett's boyfriend, Mason. So that's also another reason that Scarlett did not like Vivi. There was just a lot of competition and a lot of jealousy going on, but this still was a really good read. Okay, and then also for Vampathon week, I read Black Sunshine by Karina Halle. I'm so sorry if I said that wrong. This was another great vampire romance book. I really liked the vampire lore in this one. I thought it was very interesting. This was another one where you were born a vampire, or you could be made a vampire. And what was really interesting about that is that our leading male in here, he was like the first ever made vampire. And our heroine, she was a born vampire. This does take place in modern day. This kind of made me laugh because there were some hardcore Vampire Diaries things in here that made me really think about that. I mean, there was even a side character with the same name as a Vampire Diaries character, so that was just a little too obvious on the nose, but I still really enjoyed this. This is available on KU. It is part 1 of a duology, I believe, so it did kind of end on a cliffhanger, but I will be ready to pick up book 2 as soon as I can. Okay, and then wrapping up this month, I started rereading the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas. I say it all the time on this channel that the Devil's Night series is probably my favorite series of all time, and I haven't reread them yet. I hadn't annotated them the first time I read, so I was just really excited to jump back into this world for the month of October. So I got through Corrupt and I got through Hideaway, and this was just such a fun time. I had a blast rereading. I did do vlogs for both of these books where I just ramble on and on and on about my love for these characters and for the story and for the plot. But yeah, if you have not read this series or you have not heard of them, it is a companion novel series, but please read them in order. I don't like to call these companion novel series because this is a full series where you have a beginning plot and you have an end plot, and if you are reading out of order, your mind is going to be a complete mess. But anyway, the first book is Corrupt. It is a bully revenge romance. You have the 4 horsemen. That is the guys that each book is about. Each guy has a girl. The first book is Michael and Rika, and Michael and the horsemen are basically plotting revenge against Rika for basically getting them all put in prison 3 years prior. But of course, there are misunderstandings. There's a lot more going on, but I absolutely love the series, and I should hopefully have Killswitch and Nightfall read for November. October just kind of got crazy, and I did not get to finish the series as I planned, but anyway. All right, so that's going to do it for the 15 books that I read for October. And like I said, I only read dark, gothic, spooky stuff, so my mind is just kind of whack, and I'm ready for some small town, cozy, heartfelt romances. So we will majorly be switching gears for November. But until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye!